Youth, to me, is like the foundation of our society and people that could like drive change.
When I hear the word youth, I think about a transition to adulthood, a stage of your life when you are not longer a kid, but you're neither an adult.
Youth is in the spirit. It means that you're open to change and to discovery and to improvement. So you can be young even though you're 70.
The word youth to me represents a state of energy, ambition, innovation, and change of status quo. So people who want difference, people who want to make a statement and defy and speak for themselves against what stood before and traditions past.
Youth reminds me of what the future leaders should look like, what our community should look forward to, and people who can move our community in a more peaceful, conflict-free and violence-free society.
We are 1.8 billion youth on the globe today, between the age of 15 and 29 years old. A quarter of us are directly affected by organized crime, war and other forms of violence. Others are often stereotyped, exploited and excluded, especially in media and in politics. Yet the reality is that youth are an active player in sustaining and developing peace. Many of us are fighting for peace and sustaining peace on a daily basis in our community. But how does that look? How does building peace look like in practice?
Building peace can look very different in each context. We, the young Peacebuilders, are contributing creatively towards solutions to make this world a better place. In Cameroon, youth are running an interactive radio program called Access Point that focus on peace and gender-based violence. In Syria, youth are bridging divides and creating spaces for dialogue and cooperation. In Kenya, youth are training young people in mediation to enable their participation in mediation in different levels. In Yemen, youth are running workshops to raise awareness about the youth peace and security agenda. In North Macedonia, youth are organizing different kind of projects such as Run for Inclusion, that building bridges between different ethnical divided communities. In Colombia, youth are using art as a tool to engage marginalized communities and youth.
These are just a few examples of how young people are changing their communities every day. What we can see is that if we come together, we have the power to change realities. The greatest example for this is in 2015, when 10,000 young people came together to ask the UN Security Council for change. They demanded that young people are not only seen as troublemakers or victims when it comes to peace and securities, but as active agents of change. Their effort led to the adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 2250, or what is often called the Youth, Peace and Security Agenda. What do all these examples show? It shows that we as young people have the power to transform our societies, and we are actually creating a culture of peace every day.
We are members of UNOY African Youth Advocacy Team, and what we do basically is to see how we can regionalize and decentralize some of the international policy framework at the African level. Today, we are very delighted because it marks the 4th anniversary of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace and security. What is UN Security Council Resolution 2250? It is basically the first resolution on youth, peace and security. For the very first time, the United Nations and the international community realized that it was difficult to talk about peace and security without considering the youth population. 2250 basically has 5 main pillars. It talks about participation, it talks about protection, it talks about prevention, it talks about partnership, it talks about disengagement and reintegration. And I'm very happy to say that in Nigeria, for example, now you have more, young persons who are included in decision-making and peace processes. All, thanks to the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2250.
So what is the United Nations Resolution 2250 all about, and why does it matter? I think it matters most especially because it provides legitimacy for the actions which young people are carrying out in terms of peace building and peace and involvement in peace processes across different borders. It also changes the narrative around young people as perpetrators of violence, and it presents them more as actors of change and peace building. And we are also excited because this gives us a sense of belonging in partaking in the different peace processes and important decisions in our country, and prepares us to take charge of countries which will be put in our hands in the nearest future.
So how the resolution is being used? So now in Africa, youth and peace and security agenda is starting to make difference, but too much work remains. So for example, in Egypt, the government started to engage the youth in participating in decision making after our advocacy and advocating them to be uncomfortable to engage them in decision making. So in Egypt now we have like open dialogue with the stakeholders, engaging the youth in taking the decisions for their future. So I'm so proud for Africa and for Egypt that we are taking very good steps toward the future and making like very tangible steps in order to encourage the youth in decision making. Narrative has been changed and can be changed more in the future.
I would like to say that we want to commend the United Nations and various stakeholders who have put this resolution to light. But of course, we understand that a lot still needs to be done, especially in terms of domestication and implementation at national levels. And this is where we want to commit again the United Nations to assist in holding member states accountable to domesticating some of the very brilliant components of this resolution.
All right, I'd just like to encourage every youth out there to recognize the fact that this is a space and opportunity that has been given for us to exploit, and it will be totally useless if we do not get out of our comfort zones and get engaged and make use of this very important instrument which backs us up. And so this has been done for us. The rest is left for us to do this within our countries, to push forward this agenda and make sure that we are included in every peace process across borders.